It's the end of 2024, and we're going to talk about some movies that lost a shit ton of money for the studios and networks. Woo! I hate to be them, but let's talk about them right now. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thank you so much for spending time with me as we rant about movies, comic books, and television shows, as well as the occasional board game. I am your host, Frank Zanka. I'm an award-winning screenwriter, novelist, and comic book writer, as well as a filmmaker, hoping for an awesome 2025 and hope not to work on any of these films that lost this much money. And this is obviously the reasons why that the networks and studios are scaling back so much. Because they realize that the theaters, the multi-billion-dollar per movie gross for theaters is gone. I think this year we saw only a couple of films break the billion-dollar mark, and that was Deadpool and Wolverine and Inside Out 2, both for Disney. Of course, Disney has lost other, hundreds of millions otherwise, but yeah, so now they don't know how, because a lot of times they have a thing called above the line. So there's above the line and below the line. And what that is the separation of the budget, which is what I do. That's pretty much what I do. That's all I've been doing the last, this whole month. I've just been doing budgets for films right now. And what happens is that when you're above the line, you have your director, you have your actors, you have your producers, you have your writer. That's all above the line. That includes your executive producers that work for the studios and things like that. So a lot of top heavy because, the producers will come in and say, well, I'm going to take $1 million for that movie, even though I'm not going to do anything on it. I'm a name only guy because I work for the studio. So a lot of times it becomes very top heavy, and then all of your crew, your post, all of that is below the line, right? So, so a lot of times your camera guys, your me, the line producer, the UPM, all those guys are below the line. So the guys who do the actual work are below the line. But anyway, so I think that's what's happened, is that the networks have become so top heavy that all of these films lose money, and now they're trying to figure out how to lower the budgets on these things. Like, tell me how The Acolyte cost $200-something million, $250 million for an 8-episode season. That's crazy. It's like, $50 million an episode or whatever it comes out to is crazy. And you're talking about a 40-minute to an hour. You're not even breaking a full feature in that $50 million. It's phenomenal. So they don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to do it. They don't know how to do a low budget film like Blumhouse does, like A24 does, and that's why you're gonna see those independent companies rise and the big companies fall, because they're just gonna produce less. They're gonna produce a few tentpole movies, and then they're just gonna start taking independent films and distributing them. That's what's gonna happen. All right, so let's talk about the biggest money losers. So I'm gonna start with the ones that have lost the least to the ones that have lost the most. So, and you may not have seen some of these because that's why they lost money, because nobody went to see them. All right, we're going to start out. There's 16 of them. So and there's probably more, but this was the top 16 I could find. All right, so we're going to start out with Lisa Frankenstein. This was trying to be warm bodies in a way. So you had Cole Sprouse and you had Catherine Newton. Who was also another film later on in this list. I like her for the most part. But she's done some really, really bad films lately, including Quantumania. She was insufferable in Quantumania. It wasn't her fault. It was her character. I hope she gets... I loved her from Supernatural. She was on the Supernatural show back in the day. But the film cost $13 million. The budget on it was $13 million. I'm trying to read at the same time here. It cost $13 million, which you would think was not that much. And what I'm doing here is I'm taking that number and I'm multiplying by 2.5. because the theaters are going to take half the money, and then on top of that, you have marketing money in there, and they're going to market it based on the budget of the film. Like if you have a smaller budget film, you're going to get less marketing. You have a higher budget film, you're going to get more marketing. So it equates to about 2.5 times. So that's how you do it. It's not really perfect. So these numbers are not exact, but it'll give you a good idea about how to figure out whether movies lost money or made money. So $13 million. So it had a $35 million break-even point, which you would think is not that much. But this is why Blumhouse doesn't do anything over $10 million. It only made $10 million, $9 million, a little over $9 million, almost close to 10. And so it lost $25 million, that film. Is that something they could possibly get back in the future? Yeah, VOD, streaming. There are different things where you can make money back. This is purely theater. All right, so next one, number 15, Abigail. Again, with Kathryn Newton. She has the first and second one on the list. Now, I kind of liked Abigail. I did watch it a second time. I thought Melissa Barrera did a great job here. I know she was banned from Scream, which has now killed the franchise out, at least for now, because her and Jenna Ortega, once Melissa Barrera wasn't coming back, Lisa Ortega didn't come back. Lisa Frankenstein was only okay, where I thought Abigail was, decent. I thought it was higher than an average film. I had a lot of fun with that film. It also had Alicia Ware in it, playing the little girl, Kevin Durand, Kathryn Newton, as I said, Dan Stevens, who was also in Kong, also that same year, Matthew Good from Downton Abbey, he's always good, Giancarlo Esposito, he's always great. And it grossed, all right, so the budget was, I'm going to start with the budget. Budget was $28 million. And here's my biggest problem with that. Giancarlo Esposito had a very small role. Matthew Good is not expensive. Nobody on that list is expensive. Nobody. And if the most expensive person would be Giancarlo Esposito, that would be the most expensive person, and he had a smaller role. And Matthew Good was in one scene. The whole film took place in one set. It is a house. They probably had multiple sets, but one house. Why did it cost $28 million? This is why I said it was top heavy. Somebody took a shit ton of money out of that film and it wasn't on the screen. So, yeah. So, whoever took all that money, they're the reason why the film lost money. So, it grossed $42 million and it had a $70 million break-even point. So, it lost $28 million. I would think a movie like this could, over the years, make its money back. It could become a little cult classic. But right now, it lost close to $30 million. Ouch. But again, I think the budget was bloated by at least $10 million. So whoever took that $10 million is the cause of that problem. If the movie had cost $20 million, it would be almost break even. All right, and another one that's kind of on my list for bad films, by the daughter of M. Night Shyamalan, Ashanka Shalaman, or whatever her name is, The Watchers. Yep, nobody went to see that. Everybody, either that and the word of mouth is that it was bad. Nobody went to see this movie. Nobody cared. It was, of course, starring Dakota Fanning. And again, we have a bloated film. So did Ashanka take that money? Did M. Night Shyamalan take the money? Because again, it took place all in a house. And the budget was $30 million. What the hell? How it was a house with one room and a window. Which makes no sense how it got built to begin with. And then you got to see this little bit of a cave thing, and that was it. That was all their set pieces until the very end. And Dakota Fanning's not very expensive, and everybody else was like almost completely unknown. And yet it cost $30 million. Somebody took a huge chunk off the top of that. But it only grossed $32 million, and it had a $75 million break-even point, which is almost exactly what Abigail's was. So it lost $43 million. So it actually did worse than Abigail. All right, moving on to the next one. We are at If. So this is the Ryan Reynolds film, and of course he's expensive. And it was produced by John Krasinski, which is Emily Blunt's husband. And the budget was ballooned because it had a shit ton of special effects, and Ryan Reynolds probably wasn't cheap, to $110 million. So the break even was $275 million. And again, get close to that. It ended up at $190 million, which is actually not a bad gross. Unfortunately, the budget was too high for what it was for a kids movie, and it lost $85 million. So now from this point on, we're oh no, I got something out of order here. So I'm going to jump back. So as I said, from now on, nope, we're not at $100 million loss yet for the list. So I'm going to jump backwards here because I have a thing they had lost less than the $85 million. So that's the next one. But anyway, If lost its ass. $85 million is going to be a tough. You could probably make back $20-30 million in VOD sales and streaming, but when it gets to $100 million loss, it'll take you decades to make that money back. All right, so this is a jump backwards. I had this in the wrong order. The next one is The Bike Riders, that again nobody went to see. A lot of people liked it. I was not one of them. I thought the acting was good. I thought the story was shit. And it starred Tom Hardy, Jodie Comer, Austin Butler. You can't really get a better cast. I mean, that's an amazing cast. Unfortunately, the budget was $40 million. Why? Why was the budget $40 million on that movie? Top heavy. It's the only reason. It ended up grossing only $35 million, which is barely anything for that kind of film. So it needed a $100 million break even, and it lost $65 million. So that's what I was saying. It's a lot of order because the 85, it should have been above the 85. But yeah, it lost $65 million for a drama. See, that's the problem also for you budding filmmakers out there. A drama will not sell as well internationally. Drama and comedy don't sell well internationally because comedy is very specific to an area, to a geographic area. Like what's funny to us is not funny even to England, and vice versa, where it's very straight things. And Japan and China have a whole different set of humor. So comedy is very subjective to the area and doesn't translate well. Then with drama, there's a lot of reading. Either you're doing subtitles or you're going to another country and you're having it dubbed. But that just doesn't go off well for dramas because there's a lot of either reading or hearing somebody speak with their mouth not matching. So you don't want a whole lot of that. So horror, sci-fi, and action are the only three genres that translate over to other countries. Just FYI. So if you're going to make a dramedy and think you're going to get distribution for that with no name talent, it's never going to happen because they can't sell it. Right? So that's the problem with The Bike Riders, is that it was a drama and it just didn't sell well internationally. All right, so jumping into the next one. This one is horrible. We're getting very close to the $100 million loss spots here. The next one is Book of Clarence, which probably most people didn't even hear of. The budget on this was $40 million. I have no idea why. I never even heard, besides James McAvoy, I didn't even see this film. Look, obviously nobody else did either. Lakeith Stanfield, R.J. Cyler, James McAvoy, and Babs. I can't even say this guy's name. He's from Star Trek. He plays the Doctor in Strange New World. Olusunkum. And he's got 2 movies in this loss also. So Yeah. So anyway, this movie cost $40 million. dollars. From what I know, it's about somebody being a fake Jesus. Don't know why that didn't sell. It was a guy trying to mimic Jesus. I didn't see it. It only grossed, so at $40 million, dollars, it needed $100 million dollars to break even. What was this? This must have been like somebody laundering money out of this one. It made $6 million. $6 million. That's all it made in the theater. Nobody went. It was an empty theater. So it lost $94 million. Never getting that back. That is a loss forever. I haven't even seen this thing even pop up on streaming yet. And you would have think that it would come out pretty. Everybody just said, it's gone. All right, so let's jump into the next one. We're getting down to like the 10 here. Let's see, we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, though. Yes, this is now we're in the top 10. All right, so the next one is Harold and the Purple Crayon, the film adaptation of a children's book series. Completely underperformed here. Zachary Levi, he's already said that his career is pretty much over. Shazam lost money last year. This movie lost money this year. I don't know. I really want him to get away from the typecasting that he always does. He always plays, I'm going to play a 6'10". He's tall as hell. He's probably 6'5". A 6'5", 5-year-old. I'm really so tired of him playing the same role over and over and over again. And he's the guy from Tangled. He played the voice of the prince there, or not the prince, but the thief. And so can we get a serious role out of this guy? Try something new, man, because the old shit's not working for you anymore. He did the same kind of role in Chuck, where he's the awkward guy. He's got to get out of that mold. You got to reinvent yourself, man. Go do a nude scene. That's what all the women do when they want to reinvent themselves. Anyway, that movie cost $40 million. $40 million on a kids movie with absolutely no IP. It's not even a Disney movie. It's not even animated. Why? Anyway, it needed $125 million to break even, approximate, and it made $26 million. And I did watch this on streaming because I like Zachary Levi. I did meet him. He's a nice guy. But yeah, it was purely made for kids. There was nothing really here for adults whatsoever, even though Zoe Deschanel was in it. Anyway, it lost $100 million. Poor Zachary, man. I don't know what he's going to do. I hope it works out for him. He's a nice guy. All right, jumping into the next one. This is going to be no surprise to anyone. Madam Web. The word of mouth destroyed this. Nobody went to go see this movie because everybody said it was horrible, and it was. And a superhero film with a Spider-Man superhero that Spider-Man wasn't in. Instead, he was look-alike villain. What a bad idea. What a bad idea this was across the board. Sydney Sweeney could not help this film. She could have gotten naked in it, and she wouldn't have helped at all. Dakota Johnson was in it, and Isabella Marced, who was also in Alien Romulus this year. She's going to be in Superman next year. She was in Dora the Explorer. A lot of this immediate family, I forgot what it was. Faking the Family. I forgot what the film Family was. She was in that too. That was the first time I saw her. She's really a good actress. I don't understand why she's in Superman playing Hawkgirl because she's only 5 foot. It doesn't really work. But anyway, Madam Web cost, they said it was a net of $80 million. And that's because it went for the tax rebate. So like here in Georgia, you'll get a 30% tax rebate on any of the money that was spent actually here in Georgia. So if you're flying in actors, it doesn't count. So they probably had $100 million, but only 80% of that was actually spent here in the States. so probably knocked off 20 million or something to that effect. So they netted with $80 million. So it needed $200 million to break even. Didn't get near that. It grossed $100 million, which really is not awful. I mean, not as bad as Clarence movie there with $6 million. At least it grossed $100 million, but it lost $100 million. Pretty much on the button. And then, of course, they did Craven, which they don't have final numbers on. That could have even been in this list, but it's going to go beyond. It's going to be in the theater beyond this year. So, all right. So the next one, we're going to be doing The Ministry of Ungentle Warfare. So this will be the second movie for Henry Cavill in the Money Losers section, and that other guy from Clarence there, Babs Ukalakamakin, however you say his name. I really wish I could say that. It's Alosha Mokin. I got it. It's no way I'm gonna bab that. But anyway, both of those guys have both lost money 2 times in a row here. But I actually really liked Ministry of Ungentle Warfare. Unfortunately, nobody went to see it. Somebody in my comment section said that they fell asleep during it. I don't know how that happened. I fell asleep during Nosferatu. That I could see. But during a war movie? I don't know. To each his own kind of thing. But as I said, Henry Cavill, Alan Ritchson, Isaac Gonzalez looked amazing. Henry Golding, really good stuff throughout the board. And with a war movie now, see, here's a war movie where you were on a ship, you had period piece, you had all this stuff, and you had a $60 million budget. And and you had Henry Cavill and all these other people in it. In comparison to $40 million for some other stuff, and it took place all over the place. And, you had explosions, you had gunfire, you had, stunt guys, you had all this stuff. And it was $60 million in comparison to the other movies. See, it doesn't make any sense, right? But unfortunately, with a $150 million break-even point, for an action movie, should have been easy. Unfortunately, it only grossed $27 million. I have no idea why this movie failed so hard. I think the poster did not do it any justice. The title did not do it any justice. Because this was Ian Fleming who created James Bond. This was him personally. This is like a true story. But the poster made it look silly, and the name makes it sound silly. So I don't think people took it as a serious war movie, and I think that's why I think the marketing on it destroyed it, truthfully. So it lost $123 million, unfortunately, for Henry Cavill. So before we continue to the final 7, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. Before we go into the last 7, let me jump in with my comic and show you the stuff that I've written here. I also wrote the one behind me, which is Destiny Aurora. That's my sci-fi series. It's also on Audible. And on top of that, this is my Vampire Mob set in 1950s Hollywood comic book. If you'd like a copy, they are 48 pages. I do sign them. I also have digital versions as well. But the inside is really nice. It is more of an adult book. It is bloody blood, sex, and gore. This is issue 1. And then I have various covers for issue 2. This is the Katana cover. This is the Helene cover. This is the Samurai cover. This is the Were Panther cover. And this is the Marilyn cover, because Marilyn's in it as well. And you can see the Nosferatu shadow in the back there. Pretty cool. Anyway, if you'd like a copy, let me know. Plus, we are hooked up with Moonstone Books, who is doing a 50th anniversary for the Green Hornet. It's not this book. The book will be hardcover, and it's a brand new thing. I'm just showing you an example. And it is written by Timothy Zahn, who created Thrawn for Star Wars, plus Kevin J. Anderson, who wrote for Dune and Star Wars as well. A bunch of other things, bunch of big sci-fi writers. Brandon Easton, who wrote for Peggy Carter for Marvel, the Marvel series. and cover art by Matt Wagner, who did Batman and Grendel. Just a pile of people. It's like another 10 writers on top of that. So we're going to be launching that at the end of January. But you can go to greenhornetnoir.com and get signed up to get notified about when we release, or you can go description below has a link as well. All right, so let's continue with the final 7 here. And I don't know if anybody's going to be surprised about this one either. This list also has 2 people, not 2 actors, but 2 filmmakers that use their own money to make films. And obviously passion projects that didn't work out. But this one's not one of them. This is The Fall Guy by Universal, and with Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. I love Emily Blunt. I'll go see anything that she's in. Ryan Gosling, I can take it or leave it. I know more of the women like him, but obviously the women didn't go out this time around like they did with Barbie. So this was a $150 million budget. I saw this movie in the theater because I was supporting Emily Blunt, and I think she's hot. But and I know this is made by, and you can't even know it's not made by because the company logo is all over everything of the guy who made this, because he has his own stunt company. On the airbags and whatever else, he has his own personal logo. So he was doing product placement for his own friggin' company in here. Crazy. But being a filmmaker, there's a lot of things I call bullshit on. But I was like, like even how he hurt his back was impossible in today's filmmaking. So, yeah, and he's on Channel 2 having a private conversation with the director, and nobody jumped in. It was just really weird. But anyway, $150 million made it again, I don't know why it was that expensive, unless Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling were taking that much money off the top. And it was a $375 million break-even point, and it only made $180. So it lost $195 million. I don't care how much you do on streaming, you're not making that money back. That's horrendous. So then again, Cleopatra back in the 50s lost its ass, and I'm sure it's made plenty of money at this point because the budgets are so different now than they were back then. The next one is Fly Me to the Moon, which I really liked. This is the rom-com with ScarJo and Channing Tatum. This was originally made for Apple Plus TV. Was not supposed to get a theatrical release. They were talked into releasing it theatrically. So, I don't know. They obviously added, marketing costs to this, but they already had made the film. So, whatever that, it didn't really change anything. So, the rom-com cost $100 million budget. Why? I know Woody Harrelson was in it too, but why? Why did this movie cost so much money? ScarJo and Channing Tatum are not that there. It's not like you're talking about, Robert Downey Jr. taking, $20-30 million for a movie. I don't understand it. But anyway, it only grossed. Nobody went to see this film. Nobody. $38 million gross. And it had a $250 million break even. It lost $212 million. Ouch, ouch, ouch. So that'll be a tough. I don't think people are going to be signing up for Apple Plus to go see that movie. So I don't know. I don't know how they're going to make that money back. I guess it's just a write-off for Apple Plus. All right, so the next one is one of those movies I was telling you about where the filmmaker put his own money into it. And this is bad news for Kevin Costner. He loves Westerns. I like Westerns too. I made one myself. This one's called Horizon, an American Saga, Chapter 1. He was supposed to have 4 chapters. Why would you do that, Kevin? You know this thing well enough. This budget was $100 million of his own money. $100 million. And I think he was talking about taking the money he had would make and then put it back into the next one, into the next one. Oh my God. What a nightmare. Obviously, Even the distributor company doesn't want to do another one, so it's dead. So when you do a chapter one, you got to make sure that you're going to make enough money, and $100 million budget is not going to do it, especially on a western. I mean, the last western that came out with Denzel Washington, the remake. Oh God, with the Magnificent Seven. That was a great film. Look at the cast in there, and that thing lost money. Westerns do better on television than they do in theater. They don't do well in theater, unfortunately. Nobody goes to see them. It's not like it was back in the day, where everything was a western. Everybody went to go see them. John Wayne and Clint Eastwood and all that stuff. It doesn't work that way anymore. So the movie, needed just like the last one, needed $250 million to break even based on that $100 million budget. It only grossed $31 million. It lost $219 million and is now dead. Why would you call it chapter one? It just makes you look bad. Not even the fact that you lost money, but the fact that your series is dead. It didn't even end. The movie didn't even end. And it was like 3 hours long. I don't know, man. And it dragged, too. There was a lot of stuff he could have cut out. But he was trying to make this epic, I guess. I don't know. All right, so we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here. We're down to the final four. I know we've been talking for a long time here. So the next one is the next guy that put his own money in and for a passion project and failed greatly. Megalopolis, which I was going to go see, but it had such horrible reviews that I stayed away from it. I still, to this day, haven't seen it. It's Francis Ford Coppola directed, put his own money in, and it cost $100 million also. With these actors, see, it goes $100 million grows on trees for these freaking guys? Yeah, I'm just going to throw $100 million at a movie. That's how much money Francis Ford Coppola's got, that he just throw $100 million out. Anyway, far worse than what happened with Kevin Costner. Or at least Kevin Costner ended up grossing $31 million. Nobody went to see this film. Nobody. It grossed worldwide $12 million. $12 million. That is absolutely nothing. Wow. With that kind of name, and Adam Driver had a big freaking cast, and nobody cared. Just to show you that cast doesn't drive films anymore. It drives money, like investor money, but it doesn't drive audience anymore. Anyway, out of $100 million, he needed a $250 million break even, so it lost $238 million. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Chances are I won't be doing that again. All right, last three. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Anya Taylor-Joy, that's how you pronounce it, by the way, not Anya, it's Anya. Anya Taylor-Joy led this thing because they knocked Charlize Theron out of it, probably because it took forever to get this thing made, and they probably thought that she was too old. They wanted to go skew younger, so she was pissed off from the beginning. And unfortunately, I liked this movie a lot. By the way, I thought this movie had a lot of great stunts to it. I liked the character. I liked the arc that the character did. I thought the stunts with her on the truck and all that, I think a lot of that stuff really worked. But yeah, unfortunately, nobody went to go see it. Mostly, I guess, because people thought it was going to be a girl boss movie, and it wasn't. I don't know, because I think it's been overdone. I think I love female-led stuff. I write female-led stuff. And this is going to hurt because there's been so many bad female-led movies now that people are shying away from it. Where women can just do perfect things and don't have an arc and can do no wrong. And I think people are over it, which is, again, not this film, but people thought that's what this film was. Taking over for a male character, because Mad Max isn't in it, except for like one long shot out of him in his car. That's it. Chris Hemsworth did a great job. Anyway, it had a $168 million budget, probably because of the amount of stunts and special effects, but I think it was also bloated. It needed $420 million to break even, which they probably thought it was no big deal based on the last film. but it only made $172 million. Ouch. And it lost $252 million, probably killing the franchise completely. I just heard that the next Mad Max movie was canceled. So chances are that whole franchise is now dead, at least for the next 10 years. All right, next one's not going to be any surprise to anyone either. Joker, Folie à Deux. Yes, the Todd Phillips directed film lost its ass, starring Joaquin Phoenix coming back to reprise his role, and Lady Gaga coming in there to sing her heart away for no reason whatsoever. The movie was very bad. Everybody knew it, everybody heard about it, and nobody went. Talk about averting expectations. This definitely did. Anything that you wanted in this movie, he did not give you. Also, Catherine Keener, Brandon Gleeson in this film could not save any of it. It also was heavily bloated at $190 million. The last one was like $50 million or something like that. It was like very small. So if it's got the same actors and Lady Gaga, can't be expensive because she doesn't really act, it's $190 million. Why? And it all took place in the jail and the courtroom. That's it. It was like one seat on the street. What was expensive? So this movie was heavily bloated. For all I know, that Todd Phillips demanded $50 million. I don't know. I don't know what it was. But whatever decisions they made financially was bad. Very bad. If the movie had cost what the original one cost, it would have been fine. But based on that $190 million budget, because the last one, made $1 billion. So like, oh, this movie will make $1 billion. Yeah, no. It needed $475 million to break even, which I guess they were betting on. They could say, yeah, we can at least make half. And it didn't. Not even close. It made $206 million. And it lost $269 million. Todd Phillips is officially in director jail. Nobody's going to touch him for a while. All right, and now the biggest money loser of the entire 2024. Drum roll, please. What is it? What lost all that money? And I can tell you that the money lost from Joker was in no comparison to what this one lost. And it's also in my worst list as well, which is why it lost its money. All right, here it is. Argyle. Yes, Argyle lost its ass. Universal, again on this list. Universal did not have a good year. They're probably begging for the next Fast and the Furious to come out quickly. Although the last Fast and Furious movie didn't make money either, so I don't know. Bryce Dallas Howard, I don't know what you were doing in this film, Bryce. I don't know. Sam Rockwell, awesome guy, awesome actor, couldn't save this thing. Henry Cavill, again on this list for losing money. Just a bad film all around. This is just an awful film. And it cost, you ready for this? $200 million for this piece of shit. I think it's Matthew Vaughn who did the Kingsman stuff. $200 million budget. Yeah, he's going to be in director jail too. Awful film. $200 million. It needed $500 million to break even, and it made 96. It didn't even break 100 million. That's how bad this is. The movie lost $404 million, close to $500 million loss. Wow. I don't know, man. I don't know. So yeah, that's the problem. So yeah, that is my list for this year of 2024, the biggest money losers. I might do a biggest money makers this year. Disney, of course, will probably be on top of that list, but I might do that list. All right, well, thanks for watching, guys. I greatly appreciate it. Let me know what you guys think. Also, in the description below, remember to or go to greenhornetnoir.com and get signed up for the anthology, the 50th, celebrating the 50th anthology book for Green Hornet. Remember to also give me a like, give me a thumbs up if you can. And if you can subscribe, please do. I'm trying to grow the channel out, and it'll notify you about when my new videos pop up. Have a happy new year, and I am looking personally towards 2025 and getting back to work. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Have a great week.